Hey, hey. Really the only thing that gon' be normal is distribution. Normal folks gon' infuse some. Optimize your lineups and you feed the rest, you mute them. Turning it up, these numbers are loud. Peeping this game from a nimbus is wild. Making it rain. While I embrace all this risk, I'm insane. Talking about that best bell, I'm the best rest till into the next world. Guess I got next still. BestBell, I'm the best rest till into the next world. Guess I got next still. Hey, hey. Really the only thing that gon' be normal is distribution. Normal folks gon' infuse some. Optimize your lineups and you feed the
Welcome to the BestBell Fantasy Football Podcast and live stream. I'm Bradley Stalder. Tonight, I've got a quick hitter for you. We're going to talk about some Thursday night preview. Typically on Thursday nights, I do a Thursday night tailgate. It's a lot of fun. We do start sits on Player Profiler. So check that out on Thursdays. But tonight, I do a little bit of a preview. I do a similar thing, giving you a primer for stats, data, information, players, the whole bit that you'll be looking for on Thursday in your matchup that I want you to start percolating, let you think about right now, because it's important to let these sit in. The Thursday night games set the tone for the rest of the week, right? It's going to let you know whether you need to be aggressive later on in Sunday, you need to pick up somebody off of waivers who has a higher ceiling, or you can just play it safe and roll with some 8 to 10 point flexes the rest of the way, because there ain't no way your opponent's going to catch up with you. So I want to talk with you tonight about some Thursday night things, including a few premium players that we have to decide whether or not we're going to put them in our lineups, right? Are we going to start or are we going to sit some of these Thursday players? So if you have specific questions, put them in the chat, but I'm going to go through some of these players, and we're going to make sure I answer your questions. I'm going to go for about 45 minutes tonight. I've got a Stack Hunters podcast with Louis G on the Player Profiler Network tonight at 9:15. Louis wanted me to move it. It normally is at 9 o'clock every other Wednesday, but Louis wanted it at 9:15. So we're going to be on Player Profiler at 9:15. Check out that live stream. It's going to be awesome. So without further ado, the first player I want to talk about tonight is, of course, Trevor Lawrence, quarterback Trevor Lawrence of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So remember, Trevor Lawrence was being drafted as a top 8 quarterback this past offseason. He was top 5 in rate of top 5 weeks. Okay, in best ball last year, 25% rate. That was better than Burrow. That was better than Justin Fields. It was one of the tops. And so we saw some major spike weeks last season for Trevor Lawrence. But this year, he's quarterback 18 and only, 7 passing touchdowns in 6 games. That's not getting it done. He's not finished as a top 7 quarterback in any week. He finished outside of the top 10 in all but 1 week. That week was week 1 against Indy. In fact, the 2 best games of the season, pretty much rankings-wise, weekly rankings-wise, has been against Indianapolis. And now it's New Orleans. So Trevor Lawrence is a player that I'm trepidatious in ranking this week. I'll pull up my rankings. If you go to bestbellfantasy.com and you look at weekly rankings, I've got a rankings tab at the top. I've updated weekly rankings for week 7. So you can check out my rankings as I update them there. But for right now, Trevor Lawrence is my quarterback 14 on the week. He is questionable coming into this game too. So there are reasons to be finding other options. I mean, if you want to start like Brock Purdy, of course, against Minnesota, I love that matchup. And you're starting Brock Purdy no matter what, but just giving you some options. I mean, you can consider, I would still have Trevor Lawrence over the Baker Mayfields of the world, the Josh Dobbs, the Derek Carrs of the world, but Trevor Lawrence is outside the top 12 for this week. I have Sam Howell ranked ahead. I have Jared Goff ranked ahead, even though, I'm probably going to be lower than consensus when the dust settles on Jared Goff. Trevor Lawrence is going to be a quarterback that you need 3 passing touchdowns from him, or you need 2 passing touchdowns and 40 rushing yards. That's not looking like it's going to be a good bet, with the ranking of quarterback 14. His ECR is 14 right now. Right now, he's quarterback 15 in fantasy points per game, officially questionable with a knee injury. He got injured, remember, at the end of the week 6 game. So Trevor Lawrence is a player that, we're probably looking to bench or move away from in your 1 quarterback leagues. You're probably a better bet at streaming, given that he's questionable, given that New Orleans is always a tough matchup. And this game is on the road. Granted, it is in a dome, but yeah, Jacksonville traveling on a short week with an injured quarterback. This is a recipe for a tough sledding for Trevor Lawrence. So I have him outside of the top 12 for Thursday. You're probably looking elsewhere. Okay. Terrell IT, what's up? E. Moore or Wan'Dale Robinson at PPR? We're monitoring Wan'Dale right now because he's questionable. So we're going to monitor Wan'Dale's knee injury. Elijah Moore is probably the better play for right now because Deshaun Watson is expected to be back on Sunday. That's the news right now. We'll, of course, monitor this situation, but Deshaun Watson's expected to go, and I'd rather have Elijah Moore than Wan'Dale Robinson. Okay. What's up, E? Shout out in the chat. Okay, Ivy, thank you again, Bradley, for the awesome content. My entire team is either on the bye or injured this week. Yeah, it's wonky rankings. I'll tell you what, it is wonky rankings. It's kind of disastrous for some. I was looking through, and I'll talk about a few players later on in the Thursday games that you're probably going to have to start because of bye weeks. But it's really, really tough. Tough sledding, the IR. I mean, James Conner, like on the IR. Kyron Williams out for weeks. It's really tough sledding right now because of the bye weeks. That's why you got to hit that waiver wire hard. Jordan Mason, if Christian McCaffrey is not able to go, we're monitoring that situation. The Rams' entire backfield is a mess. Like, who is it going to be? Royce Freeman? Is it going to be Myles Gaskin? Is it going to be Zach Evans? And my answer to that, and if you watch my waiver show from yesterday, my answer to that is none of the above. Like, it's going to be one of them going like 11 for 40 and a touchdown, and that's going to bail you out, right? We're probably not going to know based on what Matthew Stafford has said. Jordan Rodriguez, one of the beat reporters for the LA Rams, said that she wasn't able to get clear insight right now. The Stafford quote is that they're still bringing in guys, and obviously the top 2 guys are out with Kyron and Ronnie Rivers placed on the IR. So you're avoiding the Rams situation. Because what's the best case scenario? They give it to one guy, they give it to Myles Gaskin. At least Gaskin has shown like something in the past. I don't believe in Zach Evans' prospect profile. Royce Freeman is a 3.2 yards per carry type of player. So it's an avoid situation for me. I'm not looking to target any Rams. I want them to prove it to me. Like Kyron Williams might be out for a few weeks. I want the Rams to prove to me who the guy is. It's not a situation that I'm targeting. Bradley, glad you're over the hill on the concussion. I'm still recovering. I would not say I'm 100%. I'm giving my best for you guys. I really want to get back out there giving you guys content, but also really working hard at my job. Like right now, we've got some big movement at where I work. I work at a high school, and I'm really excited for the things that we're doing there at the high school. But I'm still recovering, and I feel like I'm still not at 100%. So if something happens, we'll just chalk it up to the concussion. But for right now, I feel like I'm good enough to give it a go, and I'm glad that I'm working my way back. Okay, should we flex Gabe Davis or Dubs? That's a good question because Buffalo gets New England, and the Green Bay gets Denver. And it's so tantalizing to go with Green Bay versus Denver. So I think that it's reasonable to flex Dubs over Davis. You have to think Dubs is playing very well this year, if you will allow me. Romeo Dubs was a player that I was low on this offseason. It's one of my misses. I hit on Paris Campbell. I hit on Donovan Peoples-Jones, but I missed on Romeo Dubs. Dubs, although in week number 5 against Vegas, did not play very well, but he is getting a full-time role. In the games without Christian McCaffrey, 5, 3, 11, and 13 targets. And he had 13 targets in the Christian McCaffrey game against Detroit. But that was kind of, McCaffrey working his way back the whole bit. So 72 offensive grade, PFF grade. Yards per route run, 1.48 is not spectacular. That's a little bit better than your Wan'Dale Robinsons or Rondell Moores of the world. Romeo Dubs, his efficiency metrics, were stronger at the beginning of the year, and now we're kind of tailing off. Jordan Love, we can't trust the floor, but the ceiling is very much there. I mean, Dubs through 5 games, 3 touchdowns, 228 receiving yards, 60% catch rate. Compare that to Christian Watson, who's at like 45%. So I understand the tantalizing nature of Gabe Davis as well. That's massive, massive upside type of play. But, I think that this game environment is something that we want to be targeting. I haven't taken a peek at the Green Bay Packers versus Denver Broncos, but the over-under here in Denver is 45. Green Bay favored by 1. So if Green Bay is going to be getting things done, there have been a lot of comments made by Coach LaFleur coming out of the bye of they reviewed the film. They said that players weren't in the right positions to make plays. And you have to think that, yes, it's Christian Watson that they're talking about because Watson leads all wide receivers in interceptions on targeted passes. Watson has only played 2 games, and he leads all wide receivers in interceptions on targeted passes. So that's wild to me. So I think that this is a Christian Watson breakout game, but it doesn't mean that Romeo Dubs isn't also going to eat because of the ineffectiveness of A.J. Dillon, and we don't know what Aaron Jones is going to do, but I also like Aaron Jones in this matchup as well. So give me that type of matchup versus, New England versus Buffalo. The over-under for this game is 41, and Buffalo is favored by 9 on the road. Like we're talking like a 25-15, just terrible game. So I get that Gabe Davis still has that massive upside. He's one of the best ball picks you could have made so far. He's top 10 in best ball value. But Romeo Dubs is also paid off. So I don't think you're going to go wrong with either of those Ortiz family. Are we worried about Evan Ingram? Well, this is a good tie-in here, Go Jen, because we can talk about Evan Ingram. Tight end, Evan Ingram. He is tight end 6 on the season. I was a little bit low on Evan Ingram, but the caveat is that I was projecting Zay Jones, right? Zay Jones is out for this game. So if you were banking on Zay Jones to contribute, he's still dealing with that knee injury. In games, where Zay Jones has played, Zay Jones played week 1 and week 5. Those were the only 2 games in PPR where Evan Ingram did not get to double-digit fantasy points. So Evan Ingram is a start for you this week. So I'm not worried about Evan Ingram. No, Zay Jones is out, which is good news for Evan Ingram. And I will tie in, it is bad news for Calvin Ridley. Okay. Some people were trying to clown me online because I put up a tweet that identified the differences in games played with Zay Jones and without Zay Jones by Calvin Ridley. So let me share some stats with you. This is pretty wild stuff. In games where Zay Jones plays, Calvin Ridley averages 7.5 catches, 9.5 targets, 111 yards, half a touchdown, and 21.6 fantasy points in PPR. That's a top 10, top 8 weekly score. That's really good. He's wide receiver 6 and wide receiver 9 during those weeks. But in games that Zay Jones does not play, less than 3 receptions per game, just over 6 targets per game, 35 yards, a quarter of a touchdown, and less than 8 fantasy points per game in those games that Zay Jones does not play. It is clear that the game plan shifts and the targets shift and the reads shift from Calvin Ridley when Zay Jones is out, because Zay Jones is a respectable outside wide receiver. Who else is running outside routes for the Jacksonville Jaguars? You're like, well, is it like Tim Jones, Jamal Agnew? Right. Teams aren't going to respect it. They're going to press. They're going to cover Calvin Ridley with more difficulty. And of course, it makes sense. But Ridley is the type of player that is more sensitive to stronger coverage. He is not the alpha, right? But when he is one-on-one, he can beat coverage, right? He can outplay the defense when it's one-on-one. But when the reads shift, that's why we want to be lower on Calvin Ridley this week. We want to be, he's a flex play, but I'm concerned about what we've seen so far in the Jacksonville Jaguars game plan. But also from a macro view, I just mentioned I'm lower on Trevor Lawrence. It makes sense then that the number 1 receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars, we should be lower on as well. So yes, I think we need to be lower on Calvin Ridley for this week. View him as a flex play. I have him lower in the rankings. His consensus ranking is, I think, wide receiver 16 or 18. I have moved Calvin Ridley down to wide receiver 24. Yeah, he's ECR 16. I have him at 24, and he's finished outside of wide receiver 60 in 3 different games. Outside of wide receiver 60, and he was going like second, third round. And we've seen the upside. We like the upside, as I said, finishing as wide receiver 6 and wide receiver 9 in the 2 games that Zay Jones plays. But Calvin Ridley isn't even startable in some of those other games. He had 1 top 30 finish in games where Zay Jones didn't play. So with Trevor Lawrence's injury, with a low over-under, the over-under for this game is 40. It's not expected to be a very high scoring game. Short week, injured Trevor Lawrence. Saints are always, they've been a tough defense over the last few weeks, over the last few seasons. So at least a respect. They're not going to get, drubbed at home. No. So Calvin Ridley is a flex play for you, but we have to lower the ceiling given the shifts that we've seen in game plan from the Jacksonville Jaguars when Zay Jones is not on the field. But that also means Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk is the truth, guys. In the games where Zay Jones is out, wide receiver 13, 26, 16, and 27. In the games where he's in, wide receiver 95 and 21. So we have seen Christian Kirk move into not just a full three role, like 3 wide receiver role, but he will play 2 wide receiver sets when Zay Jones is out. It's just part of their scheme, right? And so we're interested in seeing Christian Kirk. I have Kirk ranked higher this week. I'd rather have Kirk in full PPR and half PPR. I think he's a safe top 20 play this week. And even with Trevor Lawrence, the average depth of target for Christian Kirk is certainly not as high. Yeah, average target distance, 8.2 yards. That's 75th among wide receivers. Compare that to Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is at 12.3. That's 30th among wide receivers. So you want to be, with Trevor Lawrence dealing with an injury, as I said, on the road, on a short week, this is probably going to be a Christian Kirk / Travis Etienne game. So we're going to talk about Travis Etienne here. Etienne over the last few weeks has just been on fire, right? He's finished as the running back 1 and running back 2 in full PPR each of the last 2 weeks. He's had 4 total touchdowns, 267 total yards, and he's had 44 carries on average, 22 per game. Yes, we like this. And he's running routes. He's 39 routes over the last 2 weeks. He only once so far has he not gotten at least 20 routes. Looking back at last season, Travis Etienne, only 4 regular season games where he ran at least 20 routes, and Etienne has already done that this season, plus some. So Etienne is getting used in the passing game. He's an auto start, mid to high end running back 1 rest of the way, given the shift in usage from last year to this year. Tank Bigsby is nothing more than a handcuff, but in your deeper leagues, your redraft leagues, Tank Bigsby is a massive pickup. So Travis Etienne, given his role, is a mid-pack running back 1 moving forward. That's what we've seen. But I mean, 4 of his 6 games, he's finished as a running back 8 or better. Yeah, he's paid off ADP and then some. So give me some Travis Etienne on Thursday night. That's going to be great. We'll shift to some comments. Okay. I was offered Jacobs and Hawkinson for Bijan. What would I do? I'd probably take that. Yep. Give me Jacobs and Hawkinson. I'm okay with buying low on Jacobs and then taking the volume from Hawkinson. Hawkinson, I mean, if you're streaming tight ends, it's going to be a significant shift up for you, and you don't have to worry about that roster spot. Jacobs, you would be starting anyways, and Bijan is running back 12 in fantasy points per game. I mean, he's let you down. If you drafted late in the summer, he was going as the running back 1, 2, or 3 in most drafts. I was only taking Bijan Robinson in the 2nd round. That was my rule. Only round 2 Bijan Robinson. And so far, so good. Like, that's worked out. We are concerned because we look at the top 6 rushing share performances over the season. Bijan Robinson has 3 of them. Tyler Algier has 3 of them. So there is a clear split between Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson. I mean, Cordell Patterson hasn't done anything. So I think that Jacobs plus Hawkinson, if you can get Jacobs and Hawkinson for Bijan, that would be great. Thanks again, Bradley, for your awesome content. My entire team is either on bye for flex. I've only got Jeff Wilson, or do I get Latavius Murray and Elijah Moore? You know, I don't mind Latavius Murray in this matchup, actually, because if we're expecting a blowout and New England, you know, has looked really bad at times. If we're expecting a blowout, give me some Latavius Murray with a goal line vulture on James Cook. The Bills did not bring in Leonard Fournette. You know, so for some of you who are new, I work for Player Profiler. I run the news desk there, and I'll give you a little behind the scenes, behind the veil. I run the news desk on the Discord. If you guys want to head on over to the Player Profiler Discord, I'm on there. And you can see in the news desk, I put the news in that Jordan Schultz was reporting that Leonard Fournette was going to go. And I said, you know, we need to hear it from a different source, because I need to hear it from another source. I don't know if Jordan Schultz is fully informed on what's going to happen in the future. I need to get some verification. Let's wait and see. So I had my writer draft it up, but not publish it, because still rumor. And at this point, it was smart, because Leonard Fournette did not end up visiting the Bills. And even though Damian Harris is out with a neck injury or head injury that he suffered this past weekend, it's clear that Latavius Murray is going to be the number 2 back, and he's been chipping away at James Cook. It's been really annoying. Look, I get some things right, I get some things wrong, but Latavius Murray as being the annoying gadfly, I went on record, man versus machine. Y'all can look it up on Player Profiler. I said Latavius Murray is going to be that annoying Frank Gore type of player. So we do not want to be ignoring Latavius Murray as a flex play in what we expect to be a blowout. What are the Bills going to do? They're just going to run the ball. They're not going to let Josh Allen sit back in the pocket and take hits. They're going to let Latavius Murray run the ball. Yeah, the trusted 33-year-old running back. This is, as I said, Frank Gore later in his career. They're just going to hand him the ball. He's trustworthy around the goal line. And so I expect Latavius Murray to be a borderline flex play with all of the injuries that we've had, with all the bye weeks. He's a great bye week fill-in. That's how I view Latavius Murray at this point. If he's on waivers and you need running back help, you need a guy with pulse, a guy who has a chance to get a touchdown, what we expect to be a blowout against a bad New England team. Yeah, give me some Latavius Murray because Damian Harris is not there. And James Cook has struggled with his usage over the last few weeks due to Latavius Murray. It's clear that the Bills trust Murray. So, yes, that's how I would handle it. All right, Go Gin, best DST option this week. What you can do is actually go to bestbellfantasy.com and go to rankings. At the top, there's a little bar. Click on it, and then it says weekly rankings. I update those about every day, sometimes multiple times a day if I hear news or things. And you can check versus consensus. And some of the things I have updated, some of them I haven't yet so far for this week. But be monitoring that throughout the week as we go through. Okay, so bestbellfantasy.com weekly rankings is the place to find it. You can go to rankings, weekly rankings. Okay, and those are imported from Fantasy Pros. Oh, by the way, I finished 25th out of over 200 rankers this past week. Let's go. Top 14 in both running back and wide receiver rankings, as I said, out of over 200 rankers. So I'm giving you some really strong content. I moved into the top 50 of rankers on the season. So you're getting some of the best and most accurate content. Check my rankings every right before kickoff. That's when I do the most recent updates, so y'all can see they're some of the best in the industry. Okay, so check it out at bestbellfantasy.com. Okay, should I trade Montgomery and Jamar Chase for Tyreek and JT? Yes, you should. Because Montgomery is injured and we don't know how long he's going to be out. Jamar Chase is a lateral move to Tyreek Hill. If anything, I like Tyreek Hill a little bit better. And JT is trending upward, whereas Monty kind of trended downward a little bit with that injury. So that's how I would attack it. Even though we love Montgomery's volume, I'm still here for JT ascending. We know what Jonathan Taylor's talent is. I almost said Jonathan Taylor Thomas. That's really funny. But nevertheless, I would prefer the Tyreek JT side. Should we flex Jaden Reed or Justice Hill? Y'all can check out my rankings as well. Go Jen. I'll be updating that throughout the week. Christian Watson, Deontay Johnson, or Osborne from the Vikings this weekend. It's Christian Watson. That's an easy one. Don't even need the rankings for that. Okay. GMB Jeff 021. Thanks. Yeah, if you guys like the content, you found this helpful, make sure you guys are smashing that YouTube subscribe button, the red subscribe button. Appreciate all of you jumping in to the YouTube. If you're watching on another platform, go to youtube.com/@bestbellfantasy, and that will get you to where you need to be. Cool. Should I trade Nico Collins for Puka Nacua? I've been getting different opinions. Of course you should. Go get Puka Nacua. Cooper Kupp and Nacua combined for a 70% target share this past week. You want Puka Nacua. He missed a touchdown. He missed a touchdown by that much. It was a low pass volume game for the Rams. And you have to think with Gaskin and Royce Freeman and Zach Evans, what is Matthew Stafford going to do? What is Sean McVay going to do? They're going to be like, are we going to give the ball to guys who we signed off the street and signed off of practice squads? Or are we going to give the ball to Matthew Stafford to throw the ball to Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Tyler Higbee and anyone else? I think the move is the passing game. We're going to see a little bit more of a shift to that, and they're just going to keep teams honest with the run game. So that's how I would be attacking that. Of course, you're going to try to get Puka Nacua. Lex, plant some trees. Shout out to you. Steelers defense or Colts defense, yeah, check out my rankings on bestbellfantasy.com/week bestbellfantasy.com. Go to rankings and weekly rankings. Drop Deshaun Watson, Howell, Elijah Mitchell, or Warren for Kyler. Was going to play Howell this week. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I'd be willing to drop Deshaun Watson. I know some of y'all are like, okay, well, Deshaun Watson, we don't know if his shoulder is right. It might be. We also don't know if he's right. We've seen a really low floor. We've seen some ceiling games from Deshaun Watson, but a really low floor if things go badly. And Watson can't play very well outdoors and is only going to get colder. So long term, like, we want Kyler Murray on our fantasy teams. He's going to be just fine. Okay. Think Joe Burrow coming back from the ACL. Joe Burrow was just fine. These are also first overall draft picks. Very athletic player. He's worked his tail off to get back. I would drop Deshaun Watson in that type of league. Ooh, okay. Stevenson, Ridley, Myers, or Mike Evans. You're going to go with Mike Evans. Evans was open for a 95-yard touchdown, whatever, 80-yard touchdown, and it got tipped to the line of scrimmage. He was so wide open, he would have housed it. So I'm not worried about the poor performance. The process was right for Mike Evans. Give me Mike Evans. I'm 5-1. Should I trade Pittman for Jefferson? I think it's worth the shot, given how much lower in the tier Pittman is to acquire Jefferson. Your team is probably strong already and has gotten to 5-1 with Pittman's struggles. So I would do that trade, try to go after the Justin Jefferson. You have to acknowledge that there is some risk that he might not play. Are you willing to take that risk? And I think it's worth the risk going after Justin Jefferson. Any clue how Zach Evans and Mayer from Vegas are looking? I picked both off waivers this morning. Yeah. So check out my video on Best Bell Fantasy. I just did a 3-4 minute video on Michael Mayer. Check it out. And it should be one of the most recent videos on the YouTube channel. I am a big fan of Mayer. I think he's a top 12, 15 tight end the rest of the way. I'm not a fan of Zach Evans, though. I was not a fan of his player prospect profile. Say that 3 times fast. So no, I am not in on Zach Evans, but I am in on Michael Mayer. Okay. Man, you were right in Amari Cooper or Josh Downs too. Yeah, Amari Cooper, I said, had the higher upside, but Josh Downs was going to play pretty well, and Downs bailed us out with that touchdown, but we like Josh Downs getting all the targets. Okay, just picked up the Browns D. Should I play the Browns D or the Bucks D? Yeah, the Browns are going to be one of my highest ranked. I haven't done a lot of DST updates, but the Browns are going to be one of my highest this week. Should I trade James Cook for Aaron Jones? I think that's just fine. I think that's fine. Aaron Jones should be healthy from the injury. We saw a massive upside, and Jones gets Denver this week, right? Ooh, yeah, it's tantalizing. It's tantalizing. Would you drop Javonte for JSN full PPR? I don't think so. I would hold on to Javonte Williams. When he's been getting full workload, he's been about running back 28 to 30, which is fine. But that's not going to win you weeks. However, the coaches for the Denver Broncos want to get Javonte more involved now that he's healthier from that hip injury that he was dealing with. I think Javonte will be just fine as a running back 2 moving forward. JSN, it's going to be hard for JSN to be productive unless DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett gets injured. So I'm not looking to do that. Should I play Dustin Hopkins versus the Colts, Myers, or Boswell versus the Rams? So yeah, Ray Gamer, check out my rankings when we get close to Sunday, and we can answer that question for sure. I haven't finalized the kicker rankings. Come on, Ray. It's Wednesday here, and none of these players are playing on Thursday. So yeah, I've got to update those. But check out bestbellfantasy.com and then look at the rankings. Go to weekly rankings, and you can see how it's updated from there. Okay. Running backs are Saquon, White, Roshan Spears, Puka Ridley, Wilson, Pittman, Collins, Flowers. Who should I put with Goddard for Bijan? I have Waller. Yeah, Goddard is dealing with a groin injury, so short term, you want to be trying to get those wins. I mean, if you can go Flowers and Goddard to get Bijan, that would be nice. Pittman and Goddard to get Bijan, that's good. That's how I would try to attack it. I don't know if I would quite go up to Garrett Wilson, but that's how I would try to attack it. Nibble a little bit, see if someone bites. I could not get Mayer. Should I roll with Logan Thomas or Jonnu this week and rest of the season? Yeah, so I do have tentative tight end rankings up. Let me pull those up. So be monitoring bestbellfantasy.com weekly rankings. I've updated that there. And I have Logan Thomas at 12 and Jonnu Smith at 13. I think Logan Thomas will continue to be one of the more consistent tight ends for us. The rest of the way, he's tight end 13 on the season. And looking at his finishes, he's finished as a top 13 tight end 3 of his 5 games. So that's been pretty good. But yeah, that's how I would attack it. Okay. Oh, we got some good questions here. Dylan Fink, 12-team full PPR. Fields, Howell, CMC, Cook, Ford, Roshan, Herbert, Waddle, Olave, Ayuk, Flowers, move Olave and Cook for Diggs. I think that's a good move. Yep, that's good. If you can do that, yes. How worried are you about Roshan not clearing concussion protocol? I think that he should be back, but worth monitoring. If Roshan is back from the concussion protocol, we're looking at a 12 to 15 touch performance with a lot of safety in that. Before, Roshan was getting his touches, but it wasn't safe. It was because there were blowouts or the Chicago Bears were getting blown out. So yes, Roshan is a much safer play if he clears concussion protocol. Okay. Do I think Debo will play? He's trending toward playing, but should you play Debo? And the answer is he's probably going to be lower than Calvin Ridley, and I have Ridley as a flex play. So depends on who you have. And we'll listen for more news, but Debo is a player that we know his floor, and his floor is very scary. So it probably depends on your matchup if you want to take a big swing or not on Debo Samuel. Would you trade? Would you play Njoku or Mayer full PPR? Also, Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence this week? Ooh, man. So we're going to monitor all of these situations. Take a look at bestbellfantasy.com, look at my rankings, and I'll update those throughout the week. Okay. I do have initial rankings up, but those change throughout the week. They'll auto change when I update them on Fantasy Pros. So take a look there. Okay. Cool. Let's see. A couple other players that I want to talk about for tonight in preparation for tomorrow. Okay, so there's been some chatter about Jamal Williams. What are we going to do with Jamal Williams? And I think the only thing that we're going to do is monitor the situation. He's not officially activated off of IR. He has limited practice this whole week. He still can get activated next Sunday and still meet his 21-day window. So I would not expect to play Jamal Williams this week, even if he is activated from the IR. I would just be surprised if he's activated. That would be a surprise for me. I have Alvin Kamara lowered just in case he does play. I've moved Kamara down to 11 for the week. And looking at the running back rankings, Kamara, let me refresh here. Relative to the expert consensus rankings, I don't know why it still shows 8, but I have moved him down to 11. Oh, it's because I haven't published it yet. Okay, that's probably why. Let me publish the rankings and then refresh. Okay, so it should be reflective on that end. Cool. It'll refresh here shortly. Anyways, so Jamal Williams is a player that if he's active, just lowers Kamara just a smidge. due to the goal line possibility and just taking away a little bit of volume. But we're not moving Kamara outside of our top 12, even if Jamal Williams is active. Cool. Someone dropped Moss too. Should I add him just in case JT gets hurt? Yes. Zach Moss has proven that he is a valuable handcuff. If Jonathan Taylor does get injured, we know what kind of volume the Indianapolis Colts are willing to give to Zach Moss. And he's proven that he's been effective in this offense. So, yes, you need to be picking up Zach Moss. I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks since Jonathan Taylor was officially activated. We want to be picking up Zach Moss off of the waivers. It just makes sense. We treat him like a Tyler Algier or a Tank Bigsby or a Jalen Warren. Those are like the direct handcuffs to the running back one on the team. And we've seen Jonathan Taylor increase his role. We've seen Zach Moss move away just a little bit, but it's okay in your medium-sized leagues to absolutely be picking up Moss. And in your running back thirsty leagues, yeah, Zach Moss is a valuable pickup. Absolutely. Ivy Catholic asks, is it rational to pick up and play Seahawks players? DK only because I'm going to the game. Sometimes it's fun to have a vested interest if you're going to the game and you're following, what you're rooting for specifically. Sometimes it's just fun. Is it rational? Probably not super rational, but it's a lot of fun. And sometimes you just need to sprinkle in a little bit of fun here. That's how we want to play it. Would you play Javonte or Rashad White? I think for this week, still, we're going with Rashad White, despite the fact that, Rashad White's going to get the volume. Rashad White is going to be a running back too. Yeah, he didn't get the volume last week against Detroit. I mean, yes, Rashad White got hurt a little bit. Fine. But Rashad White has not been a super impressive running back. I mean, he isn't in the top 20 despite his volume. And that's a problem. Rashad White is secretly the problem with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Oh, there we go. Truth bomb. Rashad White is secretly the problem. I like Kendre Miller too, Dylan. But yeah, Williams will take some goal line. Yeah, Kendre Miller, I mean, I don't have him ranked inside my top 40 of running backs. So he's not a player that I'm looking to be putting in anytime soon. Let me look at my ranking tentatively for Miller. Yeah, he's at running back 50 for me this week. Bigsby at 56 right now. Williams at 57. So they're very much outside of startable range at this point, even desperation range. That's how I'm treating them. Cool. Saquon, Debo, and Musgrave for Adams and Hawkinson. You're improving wide receiver, Devontae over Debo, and you're improving Hawkinson significantly. It depends on who you have at running back. If you've got like nothing burgers at running back, or you got some middling RB2s, Saquon's going to be better. And we know what Saquon Barkley is. He is first 15 carries, get you 40 yards, and then he rattles off like 2 30-yard runs. And then, we're up to 100 rushing yards on 17 carries, and then we're happy with it because it's 6 yards per carry. That's the type of player that Saquon is, and he can have the running back 1 weeks. It's just a matter of who do you have still for this spot. Okay, who's the better stash through the bye, Chuba or Spears? It's Tazi Spears. Miles Sanders has not been good, but it's not proven yet that Carolina is willing to give Chuba Hubbard meaningful touches over a healthy Miles Sanders. That is not proven to us yet. What is proven to us is the Tennessee Titans are willing to give snaps and touches to Tazi Spears over Derrick Henry in many situations. So one of the players that I'm fading in the second half of the season is Derrick Henry. It's a very easy one. It's a very obvious one. But Tazi Spears has played very well. If he is on your waiver wire, you need to put a massive bid on it. If Derrick Henry is moved in the next 2 weeks, or if Derrick Henry suffers an injury, or if the team just fully moves Derrick Henry out of the offense, Tazi Spears, if he gets a full-time role, can be a top 12 running back. Thoughts on picking up the Pats' third string quarterback? Ivy, come on now. We're not doing that. Who is it? Bailey Zappi or Malik Cunningham? Okay, I've got Monty and Kamara. Yeah, I probably wouldn't do that deal. Monty's out for a bit. He hasn't officially placed on IR, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's out for a few games. Yeah, I would not trade those away at this point. Devontae Adams also dealing with an injury. Debo dealing with an injury. You probably can find someone else other than Musgrave on your waiver wires, how I'm attacking that. Okay. All right. One last player, and then I'm going to say sayonara for the night. Taysom. Oh, actually two. I apologize. One is Rashid Shaheed. Rashid Shaheed is currently the wide receiver 44 in fantasy points per game. But let me read you some stats. He is running wide receiver 5 in deep targets, wide receiver 3 in average target distance, wide receiver 22 in air yards, wide receiver 15 unrealized air yards, wide receiver 43 in yards per route run, wide receiver 4 in yards per reception, wide receiver 3 in target premium, and he is a top 24 wide receiver in terms of production premium and QB rating when targeted. And of course, he's wide receiver 10 in fantasy points per target. So there are situations and scenarios where Rashid Shaheed is one of the better plays for you this week. I mean, in the league, I had Adam Thielen and DJ Chark and a few others on bye. Rashid Shaheed is going to be a flex play for me in that league. It's just how buys and injuries have been ramped up. So Rashid Shaheed is a desperation flex for you. He's got massive upside, but we also have seen the 0 games, right? Rashid Shaheed finished wide receiver 12, 54, 75, 59, 62, and 12. So he's had 2 top 12 PPR finishes out of 6 games. I mean, 33% top 12 rate is pretty good because of his big games, big yardage. He only has, he has 3 games so far with at least 6 targets. Can't be upset about that, but we've seen some duds. 0, a 0 against Green Bay, 2 for 28 against New England, right? 3 for 33 against Tampa. So we've seen the 0 games for Rashid Shaheed, but the boom games are also there. So if you are in desperation, Rashid Shaheed, probably a 30 to 50% chance to at least get you, 10 fantasy points. If that's what you need, so be it. That's how you'd attack it. The other player that I want you to be picking up is Taysom Hill, right? Taysom Hill this past week set a career high with 8 targets, 7 receptions. And he played the most pass snaps he has in the last 3 years. It's because Juwan Johnson is out, and Juwan Johnson's out for this game as well. Now, Foster Moreau is still working his way back from an ankle injury on a short week. Jimmy Graham is a ghost. Taysom Hill, I mean, I don't know if I can get him into the top 12, but I want to be higher than consensus on Taysom Hill for this week, given his target share that he received this past week. And also, we know what he can do on the ground. Give him a couple rushes and he can take one to the house. We've seen that happen. Now, Jacksonville has been stingy from time to time against running. So maybe we don't look at that type of upside, but I mean, Taysom Hill, it's going to be very hard for us to ignore the fact that he was used a lot in Juwan Johnson's absence this past week. So Taysom Hill is a desperation tight end streamer for you this week, given his career high usage. Cool. Well, y'all, this has been a lot of fun. Make sure you guys are, if you like the content, you found this helpful, smash the subscribe button. I'm going to hop over to the Player Profiler channel here in just a few minutes. Louis G and I are going to talk about Louis' team. Louis is a comedian from Buffalo. He's a lot of fun. He's hilarious. He had me on his podcast. So I'm returning the favor. He's also top 5 right now in Best Ball Mania 4 season-long scoring. out of 650,000 players. So I encourage you, in a couple minutes, I'm going to hop over to the Player Profiler channel and I'm going to chat with Louis G. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a great time. All right, everyone. Until next time. Oh, and I also want to mention tomorrow, Thursday night, tailgate on Player Profiler channel. I'm going to be there. Y'all check it out. We're going to talk more about start sits. We're going to talk more about the game, any line shifts, any news, probably about Jamal Williams, Trevor Lawrence injury updates, anything like that. I'm excited for y'all. This has been a lot of fun. Ready to kick off week number 7. Till next time, good luck in the fantasy football streets, everybody.
I embrace all this risk, I'm insane. Talking about that best bell, I'm the best till into the next world. Guess I got next still. Best bell, I'm the best till into the next world. Guess I got next still.